We are back again. Episode 18.
Baby.
We have special guest Alex Ansoleaga with us today.
Nailed it.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Very
I
well
practiced
done,
that
Eric.
for like an hour
Whole
before.
week.
Yeah, all week.
Took a full hour.
Yeah, dude. So thanks for doing the podcast,
My
man.
pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Long
Very happy to be here.
time friend, artist, comedian, creator,
Writer,
director,
lover of long hair, baseball.
yeah, pro baseball
most
player.
ripped 50-year-old guy I know.
Hey, watch it. Watch
Like
it.
we can keep going. Like
Yeah.
just
Keep going.
Super quick,
super fast,
witted,
really
and in sports.
athletic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Best reaction time in the biz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true.
Got cool cars and shit. Like
Not
you know,
modest at all.
No.
Yeah,
Knows
The
who he is. Yeah.
The least modest.
Yeah.
yeah.
Soon
You
to be
are
neighbor.
very
Yeah.
very modest, very humble about like your ability with a lot of things. I feel that's something that I've like known about you since like meeting. I was like, oh Jesus, like this guy's fucking like really fucking talented. Like what the fuck's he doing? Like hanging out with us.
I don't know
Like,
about
like,
that.
thought that all the
Boosting
time.
self-esteem.
I think the same thing about you guys every time I see you.
Well, we just have a bunch of like super.
We're just good at being tall. That's it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Both of you good at being tall. I look just
Right.
as tall as you guys right now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm
That's the
slunched.
good thing about this podcast.
We're all the same
Slump
height here.
down.
In
Yeah.
this room, everyone's the same height.
Yeah, I thought I was feeling pretty tall today.
Some are about equal rights. We're about equal heights over here at the podcast.
Yeah.
You got my vote.
Yeah.
You got my vote.
So, Alex,
Yeah.
where let's do a little origin story. So, like, where are you from? How'd you move? How'd you get
this
to LA?
podcast is going to be about me?
It's about
It's
you.
all about you,
No,
man.
no.
You're the guest.
Yeah.
Somebody, I should have done like a pre-screening type thing.
No,
Man, I was
just because
hoping it-
everybody's story is always so interesting,
Yeah.
and like that's like the most interesting part I always find about having guests on is like
Yeah.
how they get here, like how they get interested in the things that they're interested in, like what was their like how do they come
What
to
was
the,
their-
the path that
yeah.
they're in?
Yeah, I will indulge you, but my least favorite thing to do is talk about myself.
Oh fuck, man, this is
Yeah,
gonna be
It
the
was
worst
me
hour of
I'll
your
do
life.
it for you. So you're fleeing justice from
It's true. It's true. So
from Florida.
as an infant, I floated from Cuba to the shores of Miami, Florida. That's where everything changed. No, I was born and raised in Miami, Florida. My parents were Cuban immigrants. They met in Miami, not like in Cuba. They left.
Oh, they're just
the
they
island.
met in the ocean. They're like holding on to the same.
Yeah, yeah.
tire.
Hey, you
yeah,
single?
They were tied together with like in one of these before the raft went
not
away
dating
into
anyone,
the
are you?
abyss. No, they came.
If we ever make it to land, I want to make a baby with you.
They did it. They did like the Titanic, but like in warm water.
She never let go though.
Like in warm water.
No, she didn't have to. It was warm. Like he
Yeah.
wasn't going away, so he survived. They met in Miami. I grew up there, thinking I'd be a baseball player or something like that. Like that's the
Just dominating sports from a
That's
very
a Cuban
young
dream.
age.
I wouldn't say I was dominating sports from a young age. Like I would say I was always really good at sports, and then, but I was kind of like, I started late in some stuff. I didn't like in regards to some things, I kind of like, didn't really have like the proper guidance. So I think like me and my brother, when we were little kids, we just play like a lot out in the street with like
Yeah.
the other kids who
Yeah,
were
yeah.
also like happen to be outside,
Yeah.
Like there's a thing like I that I talk about a lot where like we used to go to summer camp, but like we weren't enrolled in the camp.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they would like. I say it's baseball camp like when I have a bit about it, but yeah, like we used to get dropped off at this park that was like near our house, like in the morning. At the time, my mom would go to work or whatever,
Taking
and there'd
notes.
be camp going on. Like there'd be a camp there, but we would, we would just be at the park all day, and we actually weren't like the only ones. There was like a whole little group of us that
Really?
were at the park all day, but not in camp.
Like Sandlot kids, kind of.
Kind of, but we would kind of like get ourselves involved in camp. Like they'd be playing stuff, and then we'd just go start playing too. And I guess
They're
I
just
kind of
like,
went to summer camp every
Yeah.
year.
You can't win the award because you didn't pay the tuition.
They didn't pay, but some of it was like, it was weird because like that camp was actually like really cheap too. It was like, like a Parks and Rec type camp.
Yeah.
It was like subsidied like by the city and stuff like that. But I don't know if my parents were like that poor, but they were for sure like that cheap. I don't think that camp was like very expensive to begin with. But
Yeah, right.
but yeah, because they did let us participate. There was like, because it was always like a battle of like the camps, right? Like all the different like
Yeah.
parks. They would have like a summer Olympics, and there'd be like all these different events and stuff. So it turned out that all the kids that were best at sports seemed to be the ones that were also dropped off there
That's hilarious.
in the morning. So we always, like all the kids that were dropped
Well,
off.
yeah. So you were like good at sports. So they're like,
Yeah. Yeah, I was
we don't
good at
care
sports.
who the fuck you are. Yeah, you're with us
He's
or
the
whatever.
ringer,
Yeah,
yeah.
Get the kid that
Keep him.
get the random kid that's dropped off here every week. Fucking get him on the team.
Yeah, get rid of that little nerd whose mom will be here at
Yeah.
5.
Get this stray.
Or they were just like completely so unorganized. They're like, yeah, I don't. This is a bunch of kids. Who gives a shit? Like we don't.
No,
there's no roll
like-
call or like.
Yeah, no, there was like, it's weird because you don't know it when you're a kid. You're just kind of like, you just kind of get in the mix. But
Yeah.
like when I look back on it, like we were definitely a point of like contention for those adults. Like they were irritated. Like they would get mad. Like I remember sometimes we'd go to like the little, because we could walk away from camp and come back whenever we wanted. And like,
Yeah.
like for example, we'd get like pizza. We get like a slice of pizza at the
Yeah.
place like that was
Little-
like right next door. And dude, we'd run amok because we didn't have parents, and anybody, we'd do weird shit, and then like we'd steal like their Parmesan cheese for no reason.
Yeah,
Like, we just
yeah.
take the little jar of Parmesan cheese or whatever.
Yeah, kid stuff.
Yeah. So I remember like one time, like one of the ladies that was like working the camp, like she saw me there with my slice of pizza and the whole jar of Parmesan, and she got like all mad at me and told me to return it, and I was like, I didn't want to return it. So like I pretended to walk back, but I was also like ashamed. I didn't want.
Yeah.
I could have probably just walked in and like kind of just left
just
it on
put
the
it on
counter
there.
and shit. But instead, I walked like almost there, and then she was probably even watching me the whole way. You're when you're little, you're so stupid.
Yeah.
Like you think you get away with stuff. But I remember I put it down like on the side by the sidewalk and like in a little area there. And she came back to me with it later.
Oh, really?
Oh no.
Yeah, I'm
He's
like,
like,
try to
"What the
teach
fuck
me.
is
Yeah,
this,
yeah,
Alex?"
dude, and look at that. I just recalled it today.
Yeah. Damn. Bringing back trauma. Okay. Good.
Yeah, it's true.
So I like to start these podcasts.
And then she
off.
touched my pee-pee.
Yeah. That's normal,
That day I
right?
became a man.
Yeah.
So you're in Florida for how long before how long did you stay there? Was that most of your like adolescence? or-
Yeah. Born and raised in Miami. So I grew up actually like the first sport that I was actually like really good at was tennis. I played tennis really before I got really into baseball, and but I would like freak out every day playing tennis. I'd like start smashing my rackets and weird shit like that. And then
Well, in the time that I know you, you have not curbed that anger that much.
I've said this before. I feel like if you live to be like 1,000 years old, you end up making the same mistakes like the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
Over and over.
Yeah. So if I live to be 1,000, I'll still get real pissed off at things that
I would love to
like-
see 1,000-year-old you trying to break a tennis racket.
But I'll
God
still,
damn it.
but I'll look the same. That's
Yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna live to be 1,000, it's
Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it'll still be me.
True.
Might look even younger. Who knows? about
Hopefully,
that, at
yeah.
that point.
I wouldn't mind being a vampire, dude. That'd be the dopest.
Just hanging out in
Live
cemeteries
forever.
and stuff.
Yeah, dude. Fucking hang out at night.
So you would live forever if you had the option to live forever. Would you? Like if someone was like you,
No.
and you could control like, say like the best age for you as
Yeah.
far as like what you thought like the best you like most physically fit and
Yeah, man, but,
youngest
like,
and shape and all that whatever.
When I look back at even whatever time that was, I don't think I was that happy.
Right. I do the same thing.
So maybe not. I forgot where I was reading something about this like recently. But if you really think about like forever and like living for like if you were to really wrap your head around it, I think that everybody's answer would be no,
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
not
Not.
forever.
I only want like
But
another
maybe
5
like
years.
yeah, maybe as long as I want to. I think like whatever. So,
I guess it's
so
like-
technically, I'm past that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've already surpassed all the years I wanted to live.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird when you start getting like a little older. You're just like, all right, like how what are we doing here? What are we doing? And then you realize that nobody knows what the fuck's going on.
Nobody.
And they're like, nobody really knows. Like nobody has a fucking clue.
Dude, it's weird when you get to that age when you start putting together like, oh man, like all these people when I was younger who I thought were
Yeah.
fucking morons. Like I was right.
Yeah.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
right, dude.
Yeah.
This guy was a moron. This guy was a moron. This lady was dumb, dude.
Yeah.
Dude, there was a guy I worked with when I was in high school. He was like 40-something years old, worked at the same grocery store that I worked at, but he worked there since high school too. And I was like, oh, I don't want to be like that fucking dude. And I remember like watching him walk to his car and he had this like busted ass Chrysler LeBaron with a duct tape door handle. And I was like, dude, if I was ever like that, I'd fucking kill myself. My buddy's like, well, how do you know? He's like, how do you know you're not gonna be like that at some point in time? I'm like, I know for a fact at that age, I'll never had that kind of a shitbox car. And here I am around the same age. And like, I definitely don't have that. I'm like, yeah, there's just certain standards of living that you won't let yourself get to.
Shit, I don't know, man. I always wonder, like, if like 16-year-old me saw me now, he'd be like, "What the fuck happened, dude? What happened?"
Well,
but it's all relative. Like, I
Did you
don't
think
know.
of like yourself when you were a kid, like, oh, I'm gonna do this, or I'm gonna be this in this stage, or I'm gonna have this, or like achieve these things?
I think
like,
everybody thought that, right? But I don't think I had like clear goals that way. You know, like I had my outlook was pretty small, like outside of sports. You know,
Yeah.
like I didn't really get guidance that way. So yeah, back to the thing. Like, so basically, I was in Miami until I turned 18, and then I went away to school. I played junior college baseball in Tallahassee, and then ultimately came back to Miami to finish school. But what was it? What was it?
So that was you. So you were there till how old? Back after you went to Tallahassee and then went
So-
back to
So
Florida?
after graduating from school, finishing school, and all that, I didn't really get a chance to play pro ball. I played really well in college. I went to Division I university and all that, and then I
Playing
stayed
catcher the whole time.
No, I was a middle infielder,
Oh,
second
really?
base. Yeah, I
Okay.
started playing catcher like later, like on these teams that I play on for fun.
which is
Um,
crazy because that's such like an abusive position to play.
Yeah.
And now that you're in the twilight years of your life,
That's the most fun
Really-
position though.
But you're
It's a lot
burning
of
your
fun.
knees out
It's
though.
the
I'm
fucking
surprised,
most
dude.
fun.
Like,
when I played baseball, I was catcher too, and it's
Yeah.
like because you're basically playing catch with
you
someone.
you're involved all the time.
you get to play catch.
Yeah, and you
Like
and
everybody else
you
just
have
standing
and
around.
when you get, if it's at a high enough level, you got like, depending on whether or not the pitches are coming from the coach or yourself, you're calling the game. You
Yeah.
know?
do you get pissed when a pitcher like shakes off your call? You're like,
It depends.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if he's making a bad decision
Yeah.
to shake off, if I really think he's making a bad
Yeah.
decision to shake me off,
Say he
then
shakes
sure.
off your call and then he fucking like pops one out and if, like gets a guy on base. You're like, oh, fucking told you. Because you can't go to the mound and be like, come here, let's talk about this real quick.
Yeah, I mean, by the time I was playing catcher, like it's pretty low stakes. Like I would imagine, if I
Got a
was in the
case of
middle
beer
of
on
like,
this game. Like don't.
yeah,
fuck it up.
when there was a time where I thought I was going to be a professional baseball player. Like at that time, anything would happen at any position, and it was like really serious.
Yeah.
Which is weird looking back on it because I don't know. There's this thing to like amateur sports, where somehow, and maybe it's from a different era too. Like I know today you can't really like yell at kids and stuff like that. I always responded pretty well to that. Like, but what I didn't respond well to was like, coaches do mind games in regards to like playing time and stuff like that. There's
Yeah.
this weird thing where like you could be leading the team in hitting, and your job was still like not completely secure. We're gonna put somebody else at your
Yeah.
position and see like how you react to it and this and that. I didn't like that stuff.
Yeah.
So
So you're down there for back to Florida for how long until?
yeah,
Did you stay down
so
there
I
until
was-
like in your like 20s?
Yeah, I moved out here when I was like 28, 29 years old. something
Okay.
like that. So like, yeah, I've been here like 15 years now. But
And what made you decide to come to California? Because I would feel like you fit in pretty good in Miami. Like there's a lot of people from. Is it Cuba?
yeah, everybody's Cuban, Latin American of some sort. Like
Yeah.
I like to think I get along like anywhere, I mean, for the most part, like I'm mostly by myself, kind of like you. I like being at home. I stay by myself.
Yeah.
I have, I've always been the kind of person that like knows a lot of people, but doesn't really have like
Yeah.
that many friends,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
for real, but,
Same.
so yeah, I think like it wasn't one of these things like where I was like, oh, wanting to move to California so bad or anything like that. I just thought like I got to get out of Miami.
Yeah.
Why did you feel that you wanted to get or you needed to get out of Miami? Because it's beautiful in Miami, from what I hear. I've never been, but
I think home is home no matter where it is.
Okay.
I've always had this thing. Like I hate running into people that like I know, or especially
Yeah.
the further away that we've lost touch. Like I was feeling that like right after I finished high school.
Yeah.
I was like, man, I don't want to see this guy or this
Yeah.
girl and I think Miami's an incredible place to visit, but I don't think people really want to live there very long.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for my family, I wouldn't ever consider like being there. My whole family is still there and
Yeah.
stuff, so
Oh,
that's
yeah.
cool. But Miami's got like it's a lot like LA, like in that, you know, people are like really pretentious, can be, you know,
Real
like
flashy and
there can be a lot of that. You need money really to get along there. And Miami's way more aggressive. I will say that, like, or at least more than like Hollywood. I'm sure you get to different places in LA and stuff, but it just, you know, to me, Miami is kind of like all of the pretentiousness like of LA, but like none of like the talent or ability. Because even as like in LA, don't get me wrong, there's really foolish people here, and you get a lot of that same stuff and the whole fake it till you make it type thing all the time. But you end up running into like really talented people, really cool people that actually can contribute stuff besides like, you know.
So it's not as big of a creative community down there.
And it's just like real. I mean, and like, you know, I hate to generalize the entire city, you know, like there's,
right.
You know, I met a lot of great people there. I still have great friends there, and they'll share this exact same sentiment somehow. So like, you know, so there's a lot of people that are thinking, oh man, there's a lot of that kind of like, you know, kind of spoils it for everybody. But it's like, I had to get out of there, man. I was doing pretty well when I left, man. I had like gotten into real estate sales. Like I was a real estate salesperson, like, you know, a licensed real estate, and a licensed mortgage broker.
No way.
So I was like doing pretty well. Like this is all kind of freelance work. So I was making like surprisingly good money, like for a time there. This was like, I kind of contributed to like the mortgage crisis and all that.
What year was this, you think?
I don't know. Like,
God, if you came out here, was it like
07, 08?
2008 was the
like
crash.
Yeah. So right before then, something like that.
Right, if it was right before then, yeah, you're fucking probably killing it.
But even before the crash,
got a part-time job?
like even with the crash though, like there was still a lot of opportunity for mortgage brokers because people were like having to refinance
for sure.
Yeah, so like even when people weren't like buying homes anymore, and they're like, you know, all that stuff was going on, there was people still like desperate that had gotten into like before I get into all this financing stuff, but they had maybe got into like, you know, 5-year balloons or all these different kind of like interesting, like, you know, these mortgages that would like the rate would change after X amount of time, you know,
they
thinking that like, because people would buy a home and be like, oh man, I just have to hold it for 3 years and it's going to go up in value.
Right.
And then all of a sudden like, oh damn, it didn't go up in value. Yeah. Oh damn it, my mortgage is going up like 2 points, like, and another 2, you know, next year. So all those people were like desperate to refi and stuff like that. And I had sold a lot of those loans. So there was still like a lot of opportunity when I left. People thought I was crazy, man. But I was just like, I was doing a little bit too much partying. You know what I mean? Like there was for sure that, like, but there was the overall thing was like, I just kind of like I kind of saw like my whole future, you know, like I could see it, like, you know, and it was just like everybody else, you know, like working for the weekend, you know, like in some kind of, I had also been like pretty heartbroken, like my college sweetheart type thing dumped me. I deserved it.
Like, I'm leaving.
No, like I you know, I got busted cheating and she took that whole thing pretty seriously.
Oh shit.
Yeah,
okay.
I cheated. So I had it coming, but but you know what's weird is like, I think that when you're the person that does bad, if you actually did care about the person, it's harder on you.
Really?
I think so, because I had to like stay with the guilt, and she married the next guy.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, she went on and lived a well-adjusted life with kids and stuff like that. Yeah. And
you know, you're talking about it on a podcast.
And now I'm talking about it on a podcast. Yeah, she won't.
I'd still take her back.
Yeah, no one will. Don't worry.
Well, no, I wouldn't want to like. Well, now, you know, I mean, she's an old lady now. I'm just kidding, but seriously.
She's probably dead right now. I don't know. Like,
yeah, no, she's definitely not dead. I still check up on her sometimes, but
so there was like nothing that you weren't like I know since I've known you, you like always have been doing comedy and making, you know, short films and, and directing and producing, writing, all that stuff. Acting. Was that anything that?
No, on the contrary, like I think that like so. Like I said, I really felt like, oh man, I can see like my whole future, you know, I'm going to be working for the weekend and doing what like, you know, whoever else I knew was doing, you know, I'd be working and like, and I was like, dude, I can't do that. But I knew I did have like an interest in like comedy and like show business and all that. But like, it was really strange because like, I couldn't even like really tell people that out loud.
in Miami.
No.
Yeah, of course not.
No, because like, the idea that you would put all your eggs in like the basket of being a professional baseball player
Yeah.
makes total sense.
Yeah,
Like
there in Miami.
yeah,
sure.
like dude, in Miami, surrounded by Cubans and stuff like that, that makes perfect sense,
Yeah.
But like the idea of like, trying to get into show business or whatever is like,
Yeah.
what are you, gay? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
you gonna go to Hollywood?
all these-
Money, go.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
all these
dude, that's how it was.
preconceived notions of
We
Yeah.
told our contractor that we were like moving to California for like the arts. Eric's a singer. I'm like, I'm gonna be an actor. And they're like, oh, you guys are moving together, huh?
Yeah,
To West
yeah.
Hollywood? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was weird because all of that was really in my head. Like, actually, none of that was real. Like, maybe to some people and stuff, but like what I
whole
noticed
crew's
more
like that.
over time was maybe like, I mean, there is something to it for sure. Like, you're leaving home and you're going to Hollywood to what like the blue collar person is going to certainly look at that a certain way, but like now, and I've lost touch with everybody I've ever known everywhere. Like always, like that's a common thread for me. But whenever I do run into these people, they're like, they're rooting for you, I think. Or unless,
I think initially, like you get like that reaction from people
Think
from
you're better
back
than
home
me? Yeah.
that are like, like kind of joke on you or like,
Yeah.
say something like that is like, making fun of your, you're taking that chance to go do something. But then like, when you do follow up, or if you see them on, Facebook or something like that, I'm like they're doing the same thing. Or like if you talk to them or meet up with them again, it's like, oh, like, damn, like you really did it, man. You like got out of here. Like,
I mean, whatever that
something.
means, like, it's kind of like the grass is always greener. Cause like I look at like, some people back home and they're, married with the kids and living that life. And like, it's different, but that's a great life too. Like for me, I feel like a big thing missing from my life is like children and like a family. Although like, my behavior would tend to, contradict that feeling, it's pretty resistant to that. But they're, when you're on the outside of that, it's like, oh, what am I doing? Shouldn't I like be, getting married, having a family and all this kind of stuff.
I never think that.
Well, I have like, I used to think about that more. Like, believe it or not, as I was younger, thinking about like the future, I mean, like,
of like getting married and having a family. And
yeah.
stuff?
Yeah. I would think like, oh, am I not doing things at the right? And then you see like all those people that were doing that, like the majority of them are divorced and like unhappy. I mean, they're happy they have their kids. Tony did it late. I told you so. But you know what I mean? So you start seeing like, oh, wait a minute. And then those guys will run up to you like, oh man, I wish I this or that, like, so it's like, oh man, did I dodge a bullet, but, despite like how single I've been like my whole life, like family and kids is something that like, I think I really want, but
it's like the grass is always greener.
No, I think maybe.
Well,
I think the previous like, dude, I've had an incredible single life. Like my life has been really fun that way.
I think the majority of us have been single for the.
Dude, I'm single and I've
long time.
overachieved. I've for sure overachieved. But so not maybe so much for like the past, but like, when I think of it now, I do think the grass is greener where there is a family. Like for me, in the way that I look, and just like, even just like for humans, I think that like there's something in us that leads us to do that biologically.
Yeah, man. There's like being the only dad here, there's that part where like you do kind of have something different to live for and stuff, different than a significant other.
Yeah.
You can have like spouses and, relationships and shit, but having an actual kid where you're like, it also makes you look at yourself differently too. You're like, all right, are these traits I want to pass on myself? Is this a way to react to things? That type of shit. So there's a different, like kind of it's like a mirror, right? You're looking at a little tiny mirror of yourself.
Well, I think like, I don't think a selfish existence like is a good one. I think that like, and don't get me wrong, the majority of my life has been relatively selfish in that, like, I haven't had those responsibilities and things like that. But like, life is better when you put other people in front of yourself.
Yeah,
like
but you can have that too with, like having, like a girlfriend or or just friends in
Mhm.
general. Doesn't have to be even to like someone
Right.
you're in a relationship with. Having like people that care about each other around
Yeah.
each other. Like that's what family is, right? Like I think moving out here and not really having family, you kind of find people that are like your kind of core group of people that
Mhm.
you're there to help. You're their shoulder to cry on. You're like your little family. So I don't think you necessarily need to be married in order to feel those things, but I can understand how
Yeah.
like wanting to have those things for some people would like kind of
Oh
solidify
no,
that feeling or like maybe make it
totally.
more like,
Yeah, I don't think you have to have
reliable.
those things. I think that what you described is correct. I think that like, and I think a lot of people are, able to find those kinds of things in relationships. Like, but like I for sure haven't like
Yeah.
not like the way that
Well, 'cause
not
you're-
like family, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
either
yeah.
like not like I've got my brother, I got my my dad, my mom, I've got nieces and nephews that like and that I obviously mean the world to me and stuff like that. But for me personally, that is a thing that like I think that like I've also kind of wrapped my head around the idea like, man, I have luckily taken pretty good care of myself. Like there's like actually time.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
I
yeah,
don't
dude.
like. I'm not trying to wait forever. Like, I need to teach my kid how to play baseball.
I mean, if that's definitely something that you are trying to do, then that's something you should get cracking on.
Why, dude? Easier said than done. The issue with trying to have kids is you have to have them with somebody.
Not
That's true.
necessarily. You can
Well-
always adopt and have the same thing. You still helping somebody. You're still
Dude,
having
oh,
Nah,
someone
you want a
that-
little Ansoleaga.
Yeah, I
around,
need
yeah.
my blood running through the veins of that little monster. I'm not like, dude, I'm not gonna have one of those Lifetime movies when the kid slams the door in my face. He's like, "Hey, you're not my real dad." Like, fuck you! I'll take you back from whence you came, you little shit.
one of those lifetime.
Yeah. It's always this kid. And some
You're not
kid
taking
that's
me
back
back
to the
to the
orphan
dad.
store.
I got
Adopted
you.
kid. Like, dude, you understand? No, I wanted to bring you home. Damn it, we got the wrong one. Yeah. No,
I
I'm
should
not
have picked your
adopted.
roommate.
That's like what scares me about that whole thing of just like the not having any control of the outcome of that. Like when I see people that have kids and stuff, I'm like, man, like there's no guarantee that kid will love you, will be a good person, will do anything of the things that you in your mind have envisioned your whole life or thought that like they were going to be. They could fucking just completely do a 180 and be the opposite of everything that you've ever wanted. Like Hitler's parents were probably like, "Oh, he's amazing."
Yeah,
and
but
you're
you
like,
know,
"Oh, fuck."
but you know what?
made a Hitler.
Hitler's parents weren't so good.
Hitler's parents weren't.
No.
Or we'll take
Hitler had a rough
Jeffrey
upbringing.
Dahmer for that
Hitler
example.
was a Schukogruber.
A what?
Yeah, there's a whole Hitler was like a bastard, and then like I think his real
okay.
dad's name was like Schickelgruber or something like
Maybe
that.
that was a bad
And
reference.
then his
then.
stepdad, So I think the answer to that is like if you are actually a really good parent.
No, because Jeffrey Dahmer, his parents.
No, dude, he had abandonment issues. That's why he made zombies. Like,
No, he had a good parent. His parents
dude,
were
somebody
nice.
touched
No,
him,
no,
dude.
no. His parents, like, they're all kind of passing him off and shit. That's when he spent the time with his grandma and even her.
No, he was like doing taxidermy with his dad.
Oh, that's a bad
That-
sign
again,
right there.
bad
You can't,
parents.
you
a
can't
lot of
start
kids
that-
do that back home.
Dude,
That's
his
like
dad
a
was like,
normal
yeah, a
thing
bunch
going
of
Go
on.
little
ahead,
monsters.
Jeffrey, play with the dead animals. That's weird. That's not a good parent.
No, he would like go with them. Like you didn't watch the same movie I did.
I watched
was
the
like,
documentary.
man,
And I
yeah,
saw
dude,
it.
If you want to know the history, just watch the movie,
Yeah,
Tony.
yeah.
I mean, you don't want to watch the movie. Well, I think there's always a chance that your kids, the bad seed, so to speak. There's like an old movie from like the 40s or something called The Bad Seed, where this girl was just a little monster. But no, I think that like if you do the proper job and you spend the time like with the kids, like I don't think they turn out like that. Like I think the difference is like parents who are there and they spend time, like their kids don't really come out that shitty.
Yeah, it's the nature versus nurture thing. I think it's a combination of both. But I think like if you have that wild gene of like being a little monster in your blood, and then it also goes unchecked, then you have your Hitlers, your Dahmers, all that kind of stuff. But
yeah, for sure.
they both need some more hugs.
Hugs will go a long way.
Now, to get off the murderer subject,
Let's get off the murder.
how did you get into stand-up? Did you do stand-up before you left Florida? Or did you start doing that out here?
No, I did stand up for the first time out here.
Okay.
Yeah.
How soon after you first moved out here? And then also, too, was it before or after you got into like just the arts in general, like acting and shit? Was that the first thing you got into?
How did I do it? I don't know, because really, like, I came out here and I had some money saved, so I didn't really do anything for a minute. And I think I really didn't do anything like in regards to either or, like I did, I think I had already been writing some stuff back home. Like I think I wanted to make movies, right? I wanted to write movies or something like that. But I think I really didn't act. I think I had acted like in a couple of like friend stuff or whatever,
Back home?
like yeah. So I think I actually did stand up for the first time, like signing up for a class,
Yeah.
just because I knew
Yeah,
like
it's like-
where's the
'cause
class
that's
at?
the other. It was a class taught by Jody Miller.
Okay.
Oh, I was gonna. I feel like wasn't Jody Coyote?
It wasn't at any
Joni Coyote.
particular place. I
Joni
don't
Coyote?
remember. It
Yeah.
was. I forgot even how. I think a friend of mine told me about it. Like I didn't even find it actually. So like all these things in regards to showbiz, like it was really like I didn't like. Not only did I not know how to go about them, but I
Yeah.
didn't know who to ask, and I didn't want to ask people out loud.
Yeah.
I was like, even like the same way now to this day, like I'm not asking people
Right.
for how to do this or that. But so yeah, it was just one of those things where I was like, I just, I don't think you really learn anything in those classes. I think what they do is at the end you have to do stand up,
Yeah.
right? Like you do it like there was like
They
4
force-
class sessions,
Yeah.
and then at the end you have to do stand up.
Yeah.
So
He and I did the same thing. Like
Oh.
when he was getting into stand up, we were
Yeah.
working at an office job, and he's
Yeah.
like, "Hey man, I'm fucking like, I want to get into stand up." He's like,
Yeah.
"But I don't want to do it alone. Like, let's do this class. Will you do this class with me?" And then
Yeah.
myself and another guy we work with, we're like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." And we're like, "We'll do it with you." So it was at the
Flappers.
Flappers in what is it? North
Burbank.
Burbank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we did the course, and yeah, like just like the lady that was teaching the class was like giving us like, this is how you write a joke, and this is the structure, and like kind of giving you like not necessarily like this is what you have to do. She was just like, this is like just kind of like help mold you to understand like at the end of this you have to do a set.
Yeah.
And so like you said, it forced everybody at the end of it. You're like, you had to do a set. You know, you had to go up on stage in front of your classmates and try to tell jokes to them. And
yeah,
that
I
was
don't
like,
even know how good like Jody's class was, because I don't think there was like notes. I don't actually remember. There was for sure not like a book or nothing. Like I don't think there was ever even like a handout. Like I think
we should just all start a fucking comedy class, and just knowing that all you have to do is just get a bunch of people that don't know what the fuck they're doing,
And they
then
have
just
to-
force them to do a set in front of
yeah.
strangers.
Yeah,
and
like,
that's all it really
They
is.
pay $400.
Yeah.
And I think it was like, actually it's probably only like $200, but inflation.
Yeah, inflation.
Probably-
It's probably a grand now.
Yeah. So they pay $400, and then like you show up
Yeah.
here for 3 weeks, and then at the end you're doing stand-up.
Yeah, and as long as you have a microphone and a little stage and a spotlight to
Yeah.
put on them, they'll be like, all right, oh, yeah, it was worth it. I did my first.
They show up, and then you tell them to visualize them being on stage in 3 more weeks.
Yeah.
Picture this. Yeah.
Picture yourself right here in 3 weeks, because you're gonna be. I'll be back.
Yeah.
See you next week.
Roll one of those TVs in like they did in high
Yeah.
school, and
Yeah,
just like
yeah.
play like
So
comedy.
specials,
Like,
yeah.
all right, this is Chris Rock. All right.
See what
That'd
he
be
did?
hilarious. You start like an acting school. You know how serious people.
Yeah.
I don't know how many stand-ups. I don't know. Ultimately, you don't need a stand-up class. It's useless, but unless you don't know what to do, and like you need to
Yeah.
make sure you need to be obligated to get on stage. But
Yeah.
like all these people who are acting class are like real serious and stuff. But
Yeah.
how funny would it be like somebody signs up for like one of these quasi-famous and acting teachers, and then they just roll in the hey, I'm a substitute teacher, and it's like they bring in a video of Michael Caine. Hey, Michael Caine acting, and then you just keep doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude.
Until they
Man,
stop.
this is like the 4th week, and
Yeah.
it's just fucking the same thing. They just keep rolling in the TV
Dude, have
set
you ever
with
been
the-
to an acting class?
Yeah.
I've gone
Dude.
with him, but I've like
Uh,
you audited a class, right? That's what it's called, auditing.
Yeah,
a
you
class?
audited it. I was enrolled.
Dude, I
Yeah.
fucking
Or yeah, I audited.
I audited one of these acting classes one time. I forgot who told me to, and dude, I could not tolerate the positivity. It was the worst. So I don't know how long the class was going to be, but for half an hour at the beginning, all they did was like pat each other on the back. And, like
Yeah.
they went around the room and everybody just talked about like what like anything good that happened that week. And
I had
like,
an audition. Did you get it? No. Good
no,
job.
it
though.
would
Yeah.
be like the shittiest. I was like, dude, how are you relishing this accomplishment? Like, he's like, oh, I had it there. And I was like, yeah, that sucks, actually.
Yeah.
It's like therapy sessions for like
Dude,
people.
but everybody was like clapping. And I was like, dude, I don't know why. It made me like so angry. Like I was there, I was like fuming because like,
That's
you know, I was really
hilarious.
like, oh, and when I tell you like, it doesn't sound like that. It was like 30 minutes of them going around the room for these like
I believe it,
pseudo
for
accomplishments. That's a really
Yeah,
long
man.
time when you're like, oh man, I'm here to see about the acting class. And like now I know that like at least like 1/6 of the class is this bullshit. These guys, oh wow, really great.
So and so's not here today because they booked something. Like, oh, isn't that great?
The girls weren't that good looking in that class either. I thought that was the other reason that you take acting classes, because there's girls.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh my god.
I'm sure that's the other portion of the people that go to that shit. It's for
Oh,
just
yeah,
to,
I didn't
like-
even know
That's
that.
where Marlon
till-
Brando went to acting, right? He said that's where all the girls were.
I mean, I always think
hilarious.
about like Bruce Willis. He was like bartending, and that's how he got his acting gig. Like he didn't go to any fucking shit. He was like, "What do you want?"
No, that guy.
They're like, "We want you to be
no,
our
but
like
that guy
main
was
guy."
acting or doing some weird.
No, he was like fucking working in a bar, and they're like, "Hey, you look like a guy that could act or be in our movie," or like this, like how he just was
Dude,
talking.
if somebody
to people.
said, "Hey, you look like a guy and you could act and whatever," then Bruce Willis must have sucked that guy's dick after or some shit.
maybe he's a good
'Cause,
bartender, and he
that's
sucks
the
his
part
dick.
that they leave out of, like, oh, they saw me and they discovered me, and then like, oh, I got cornhole,
Yeah.
and lo and behold, 30 years later, I got dementia in Hollywood. No, dude, like that doesn't happen to people.
Yeah.
Like I think even the stories they have of like the people in the 50s that they were hanging out by the pool and they got discovered, like all of a sudden,
Oh, dude.
like dude, that means that they got like some,
I do think though that like a lot of like comedians that end up being actors, like I think that they are just they're good. They're just like no, like I don't think they like had to go
Yeah.
to like a class and like
Yeah.
learn for years and like the emotions to bring up and stuff. I think people just kind of like have it or they don't. I feel like in all those like different genres, like
Yeah.
acting, music, comedy, like you go and you kind of have something to work with
Mhm.
or you don't. Like, and it's like simple as that.
I agree 100% to an extent. I think like you have to have talent and like
Yeah, like you
a
just-
lot of it, and then you have to try to work that muscle no matter what it is. Like
Yeah.
even for writing, like you could tell great stories, but you have to really refine like and work like and you should be reading, be mindful, like all the stuff that I
Mhm.
think it takes to make you good at it. So I think like, but by the same token, like these people get into acting, and maybe they get a role or two. Maybe, I don't know if they're doing acting classes, but now they're working with great directors and other great actors. And before you know it, like, yeah, they're learning on the job. You know?
Yeah.
So no, you need to have it. But I also think acting is not particularly difficult. Like, I think,
I happen to feel the same way.
yeah, I think that it's hard to, I think there's certain roles that like, okay, now, this was a really special performance. Like,
But
Yeah.
you're a really good actor, though, dude. That's like, and something that comes, I think, more naturally to you than a lot of people I've seen.
well, I appreciate that, but I think still even like, I've never found acting to be like particularly hard. But also like I'm like an extremely emotional person,
Yeah.
So like I've kind of always like,
Yeah.
like for me, whenever I have acted and stuff, it's kind of like it's nice to almost like, oh man, I've got a reason to release some of these feelings, but for
All
the
your
most
stuff
part,
is very funny though. Your stuff is very comedic.
Yeah, most
but
of the
it's
time,
I
yeah.
mean it's not like it's like haha like laughing the whole time. It's like serious, but like or like I forget what was that pilot you shot where it was like you're in like there was backyard.
The
The
one
one
you-
I was in when I was a
Modern Man,
caveman.
yeah.
Modern Man, yeah.
yeah.
But that was like more of like a like I don't know how you call it, like a Curb Your Enthusiasm kind of
Yep.
filming, where it was just
Yeah.
kind of like, but and everyone's act like everything was like so like professional and like smooth and like it just like looked great. It looked like how like a TV show looks, and I was like, damn, like you made that shit, like you just did that, like
Well, I
you like
appreciate that.
came
I
up
mean,
with all
I
that
had a lot
shit
of
and-
help too,
but it kind of like made me like be like, oh, like so you don't need to like have to be like some famous person. Like there's other people that are like like equally able and capable to do that kind of stuff. It's just giving them the opportunity to put it like everywhere and get it out everywhere. So it's like, it amazes me the talent that I've come across like in living in this town where like, be like, damn, like there's so many talented fucking people that like just don't get that chance. I'm like, man, why? You know, it's like,
No, yeah, it is crazy because like, it's crazy like how many untalented, and I think this is by the way, I'm sure that there's people in every industry that feel the same way, like that their boss is an idiot
and in any job,
and the person right under them is so much better, and you know, all this kind of stuff. But I think that that's like a universal thing, man. Like, you know, I think that there's a level, like if you are so supremely talented, there's no stopping some people like that, you know. And I don't know that I don't think that I'm that. But I think that then there's like all these other people, like I was saying, like that, you know, I think acting for the most part is relatively easy, and 95% of all the acting roles can be played by anybody who is just serious about acting and will listen to the director. You know, I think that, I think maybe not 90. I don't know. It's funny because like ever since I did kind of get more behind the camera, like directing and stuff like that, like it's crazy. Like I think anybody should be able to act, but it's crazy. Like, people that come and like they're so bad that like that there's nothing like that. It's bizarre to me, like how are you messing up like this, you know? Like when I've had like my niece and nephew, like my niece that doesn't even, before she's learning how to read now, like not knowing how to read and stuff, like
she can't read her lines,
and then you like in giving her a little thing, but you know, kind of say it like this instead, because okay, you know, the same thing with my nephew, my brother, his wife, like, you know, people that have never acted at all, and like, oh, they just from watching TV, oh, you see how they do it there? Yeah, let's try to do this, you know? And then you have somebody that like goes to acting class and stuff, and I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? You know, like, so I don't know, but I think like, I think like in all things, there's a lot of people that don't deserve the job that get it, and then there's a lot of people that probably you know could definitely do the job and probably have been doing the things to like earn such a thing that like never get a look, you know. But ultimately, that's why I just started looking into making my own stuff. You know, well that, and also like, I mean, I've never even taken headshots really and shit, but for me, it was like kind of like, man, for everything that I've been doing out here, it's like, oh, I've got to depend on somebody else, you know, like to do this or that and whatever. So I finally was like, dude, I'll pick up all these skills and I'll do it myself.
Yeah. Learn out of necessity, and
and like, you know,
the best way to go about it.
I mean, so like now, like, you know, the obstacle is similar, but it's just like I need money to make films, but like I know that I can now put out like a quality product if I've got the funds, you know, like there's like, oh, I don't have to wait for this person, you know, so you know, if I was so inclined, I can get, you know, loans, start begging, whatever, you know, I don't know, but it's good to not feel like you got to like wait for other people. And I think like, I don't know, like I'm, you know, there's all these, like we were talking earlier, there's all the TikTokers and all that kind of stuff, which I'm not interested in doing that. Like, I'm not going to be on social media. Also, like the last thing I ever want is to anybody to actually know me, like at home. Like that's what, you know, I don't know. I'm a very private person, but
I mean, I think you do have a lot of options that you could kind of take advantage of, some opportunities. I mean, you could take advantage of as far as social media goes with the stuff that you've already produced. Yeah. There is so many like clips and little things that you can make out of that, and just give people more of an awareness about like what you're doing and your capabilities. And even at the end of the day, like we've talked about on this podcast before, like look at social media as almost just like a personal like diary, like of your own art or like your own life. And you can, something you can look back on and be proud of and be like, yeah, like I don't give a shit if nobody fucking sees this. Like I did this. Yeah. This is fucking cool. This is me shit. Like, then it's for me.
No,
like,
you for sure. And you've told me about that in the past. I did like, yeah. Cause I have actually made like a lot of like kind of little films now at this point, but they're like literally all of them are like unlisted. Like there's, I don't have like anything.
You're like Eric with music. You just kind of keep it to yourself. They have this weird library.
Yeah. I just kind of, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I do still see it as like a portfolio of sorts, like all these things, you know, particularly the last two projects that I, you know, that I'm still doing festival stuff with, but, so I can't really post him yet. But like those things to me, I've seen him like, oh, like it's not like a complete wash. Like I've always had in my mind, like, yeah, it's kind of a portfolio, a body of work type thing. And Eric, I know you've told me about it before, but yeah, I should definitely like.
Is there a reason why you haven't put it out? Like, because you like, do you not feel like it's good enough, or do you not want to hear any criticism of it, or is it you just don't want to show anybody just because you want to keep the thing to yourself, kind of a thing, like a hoarding kind of a thing?
I think for a long time, like I've struggled with like perfectionism, and for a long time I think a lot of it was like, this shit's not good enough, like it's not good enough. And then like like I start kind of getting over that a little bit, or have had enough people tell me like, hey, get over yourself, like shit like that. So
I think that's a common thing with like a lot of artists, where like you don't think it's good enough, or you're like, oh man, like I can do better, and then like before you know it, it's like 2 years on the same thing that you're like trying to refine,
and then you haven't done anything. So
and,
at least I feel like all right that like I have been able to get some stuff out, or at least. So anyways, I think that's been like how I feel about a lot of that stuff, but I've like kind of learned to look at a lot of that stuff now like with more loving eyes and stuff, and look at it as like a product of wherever I was at that time, So, and then now most recently, just like now I am feeling like, oh no, this work is legit, like this is stuff, particularly for the budget, like that I think this is door opening type stuff.
Oh, I wouldn't even say for the budget. Like it's like just as good. Like,
well,
like don't even let like I think the money is something that like gets in the way of like,
it's just that I know what I could do with more money, Like I know what I could really do to see, like when you're struggling, like having more time, even like like having rehearsal time, having like legit locations, like having the time to set up like 6 shots, and But anyways, so the last couple of things that I've been working on like are just currently like doing their like festival things, so
submitting those to festivals.
So once that time period kind of goes by, like then I'll just put it on YouTube, whatever. And so I guess like I guess for a long time I like either thought stuff wasn't good enough, or like I also like don't really haven't really gotten on top of like how to get all those materials together and make it look clean, when putting it wherever, like
that's minimal. That's a very simple like roadblock for you, because for your actual product, how professional that looks, trying to get it on like a YouTube channel or whatever like promotional tool you want to use, that is the smallest hurdle for you to overcome. Because the rest of the shit, man, I mean, everything I've ever seen you shoot has come off extremely professional, and you have good talent on all the projects and stuff too, and you have a good vision. So
yeah, even the day that I helped you, like we all met at your house. And I came over and you're like, you made everybody breakfast and stuff. And you had like little timesheets, and like you had like, you were organized. You had everything like down and like ready to go. And like everybody's time was like important. Like, you're like, okay, like I know, it wasn't like you were taking anybody's time for granted. You like had a timeline, which is like shows that you respect other people's time. So it was like, hey, we're just fucking around and like,
we'll get to it.
This is my little thing I'm doing and whatever.
Yeah. Well, dude, like when you're trying to do that, well, that's another thing why money is so good is like, dude, like I hate that feeling of like, oh, dude, everybody here is doing me a favor right now, like, the least you could do in that instance is try to like, obviously value everybody's time and stuff like that. But do you have no idea like how that to me even gets in the way of like the product, dude? Like I'm doing, when I'm making my films or something, like the shit that falls on me is like, dude, from director to PA, like it's and even more like, so like all that, and then I have to act too. I gotta like act or something too.
But that's probably why it's so good though, because you're involved in every aspect of it. And so, and because you do have a budget that's different from what like a professional show is, whatever. It's more of a feather in your cap to show somebody like what you've done and be like if you or if I showed anybody of your stuff, they'd be like, "Oh, what channel is it?" And I'd be like, "It's not. Like my fucking friend made this shit." And they'd be like, "What?" And I'm like it's not like some huge blowout, Warner Brothers budget or whatever. Like he made this shit himself. Like I think that's like even cooler to say than like being like, "Oh, I spent all this money and I did all this shit." It's like, no, like I like from fucking like doing this shit on my own. Like this is what I did.
Also, like, I mean, even still, like, it's still not on my own. Like like part of it is that people helped me, like I've had talented camera people and stuff like that have either bought into like the writing or me in a different way, guys that have helped with lighting and,
But it's still like
so
kind
it's
of a
still,
guerrilla style, like, bootstrap, like you're doing
well, yeah,
it.
if I wrote it and it was, and
Yeah.
I definitely have to
It's
produce and all
an
that
indie.
stuff. But
It's independent,
yeah.
it really is.
But
So where do you see yourself in the future? Like, where do you see yourself, say in the next 5 years, like as far as your, your
Man.
shows, your stand up, like, are you living in California still? Are you, trying to move somewhere else? Are you trying to,
like as far as like professionally, it's weird because like, I think, I'm obviously not getting any younger, but like, I don't have like those, like, I think that like hunger of doing this or that, like, like it took me, I think, a long time to really realize and get a grasp on like, okay, what is it that I actually really want to do? Like, how do I really want to do it? Like like part of it has been like, even like finding, like, it sounds kind of cliche, but like really finding myself and knowing like what I'm all about, and, number one thing I've said, like, even from the time that like I don't know how young I was, but like, dude, I've always had this thing where like I don't want anybody to tell me what to do. And nobody's told me what to do like in a really long time. So and I think over like these last few years when I've been trying to get things going, like I've had multiple run-ins where like my character has probably taken some things away from me, and like my unwillingness to like want to do things if it wasn't like my way. So I'd like to learn how to be better about that and stuff. But through all that, like I've learned that like, oh, wait a minute, like this unwillingness to compromise to me is something that like is actually really core to my identity, like in who I am, like, so like I won't like fold or bend or do anything. Like I'm not like doing anything
extremely hard to work with is what you're saying.
I'm not, no, but I'm like, but I'm also like not doing anything to like I'm not screwing over any of my friends on the way, I'm not like, I'm doing things the way I want to do it. Like, there's times in your life where I probably could have been like more desperate and been like, oh, well, if somebody comes around and offers me this or that, like I feel really good that I'm at a place where like, if somebody comes around and says for this or that, like there's no amount of money or whatever that's going to get me to like, not,
change your
like I want to, and don't get me wrong, I want to collaborate with people that I want to collaborate with and stuff, but like, like I know that like I won't sell my soul, I won't sell out, like I will, all these types. So to me, like, as long as I'm able to like pay my bills, however it is that I do it, like, and as long as I still enjoy doing these things, like I really don't have like any major, like where I see myself, I'm having like faith in the idea that if I continue to do work that I really believe is special and funny and unique, that it's going to pay off like in its own way. And then hopefully when it does, like nobody ever fucking asks me shit ever. What I'm saying? Like because you know how it is with these people, like, but,
there's no timeline on it too, though. That's the good thing about doing, stand up, acting, music, all that stuff. There's like, doesn't matter. People don't give a fuck how old you are. If you're putting out some cool shit, like, it's like,
and depending on, and especially depending on what, like, what aspect of show business you want to be in. Like now, if you want to be a pop star at 60 years old, that's probably not so likely, but you could be, definitely you can be a world-class director. You can be a world-class actor. I'd say you could be Ian McClellan, you know what I'm saying? Or do some weird shit like that, so, I feel like even now, like I'm still like having to learn like a lot in regards to filmmaking and even writing all the stuff that like I'm really interested in doing. I don't think that like I'm anywhere near my full power, like in that regards to that, like like mentally, and like I'm having new great ideas all the time, so like I'm just hoping that like I haven't like that my passion hasn't changed that way in 5 years, but I don't know, outside of that, like I'd want to see myself like, family, maybe get a family going or something like that.
You hear that, ladies? 5-year plan.
Yeah.
You could be the lucky lady.
Well, I don't know. I kind of like somebody.
High school sweetheart.
Yeah. She's too old for me.
Yeah.
All right. The girl he kind of likes. Look out.
Yeah.
Got a family coming. Yeah, that's good though. It's always like inspiring to and kind of like a relief to feel or to hear other people kind of going through those same like mental gymnastics about their own artistic outlets and how they kind of like struggle with it and still able to kind of like produce something that's really great and sticking to their like core values and not changing. Like I think that's something that is lost out here a lot, where people are, like you said, they'll like sell out and just like do something totally different. And I think just like with anything that is successful, I think the more you are you and genuine to yourself, the better it's going to be received with other people, and the more it's going to connect with people.
I think authenticity, it comes through, like no matter what you're doing, like I don't know. I recently had a thing where I was like developing something with a couple of freaking morons, like, and they were kind of.
Was it called the Eric and Tony Show?
No, it was dude. It was actually like, dude,
fucking
like
idiots,
dude. It was this little thing I did called Cock Blockula, and I was doing like a bigger thing with it.
Oh
and these
yeah.
Two fucking idiots were like dangling this carrot of like just a little bit of money over my head for like a while, and like
I saw a little bit of that. You sent me something.
Well, that was just like I did like an old just little like a sketch about it, but then like I was really turning it into like a thing, But and I had these two idiots who even gave them their jobs, and like, and you see, and it goes back to like we were talking about earlier, like when you start finding out, oh, all my teachers were idiots, like, oh, like, when you're a kid, you had your suspicions, like, so like, it's weird. So like, like now being where I'm at, it's like, it's impossible for me to like, and Tony, me, like I wear every emotion on my sleeve, sleeve, like, so I'm, I'll be in that situation. I'm like, dude, I'm dealing with two idiots. I'm dealing with two morons right now.
Yeah.
I would never forget this one idiot, dude. I want to say his name really bad, but
off camera.
Yeah, this guy, dude. This guy's like written for some shows and stuff like that. Like I don't even know how anybody would. This guy's such a dipshit, and he would like he would always come up with like a, he starts thinking, he starts looking at the sky, and then
what if?
And I remember, dude, one time. So then I remember one time he was asking about like this thing. He couldn't wrap his head around the ideas. Like, well, why is he saying that he's gonna not do drugs and be clean, yet he's smoking marijuana? And it's like, well, because like it's not what you say, it's what you do. There's irony because he's full of shit. Like maybe
these are called jokes.
Okay, I don't understand. Is he lying? It's like, dude, I was like, bro, this guy's a fucking moron. And like these are the people actually, like this is another thing you start to learn or after being here for a while too, is like, dude, the people that are deciding on like your scripts and stuff like at all these places is somebody's assistant that's never written anything. They studied, they got an MBA or something like that, and now they're like, hey, read scripts and tell me if you like them, and they're deciding whether or not.
Well, I think the proof of that is like how much garbage is produced every year on all the streaming networks, on every channel, in movie theaters. Like how much of that is actually good quality stuff where people are like, oh, it's very, very, very small. So like the ones that get praised, yeah, that's great and all that stuff. But like, no one ever like goes, who the fuck approved all this dumb shit? Like, how many like hundreds and thousands of movies that are getting millions and millions of dollars and all this stuff, and they're just throwing money at it, and it's just absolute garbage. Like the fucking dumbest shit ever.
That's a new reality show pitch. Where we find like all these like pseudo executives, like the most like narcissistic asshole ones that were really insensitive with people's works and stuff.
Yeah,
and then you just start going over their record of
a credits of like all the shitty films
and
like,
shit they passed on.
Yeah,
like find them all and just like really do a deep dive.
Yeah, it really is. Well, because again, it's like it's art. So anybody that has like oh, like this is good and this is not good. It's like all perspective. So it's like it really it doesn't hold any water because it's really all perspective of what the person or audience or group of people or region or whatever is consuming it. So it's really based off of, you know, a collective thing, really, not just like one person. So it's
gatekeepers, you know, like
right, and that's
but that's what it used to actually have like skill and talent and like an opinion. Now you like you completely said, it just gets outsourced to like the newest guy in the company, the PA, the underling, you know.
Yeah, and most of these people, but then those people end up being like, you know, I mean, a lot of them fall by the wayside. But then that same person who still has never written anything in their life, you know, which again doesn't mean that you can't necessarily distinguish like. That's the thing I always say too is like, oh, you're a writer or whatever. Well, everybody actually can write. Like some people just decide to sit down and do it or not, you know, like we all wrote, everybody can read, dude, you know. So, and everybody can watch TV and decide whether or not they thought something was entertaining. So it's kind of like, I don't know. I guess you could also not know anything at all and still be like, this is a piece of shit. I can tell. Yeah. And sometimes you don't have to have written anything in your whole life to read something and be like, hey, sorry, Alex, this sucks, dude. Yeah. I'm no Maya Angelou, but this is some bullshit right here.
This is trash right here.
It is trash.
They have I saw this thing about Rick Rubin, you know, like the music producer, and he was interviewed and he was like, yeah, like I don't know how to do like any of the computer shit. I don't know how to produce stuff or like playing any instruments, and I have like this amazing career and I just kind of like guide people. And I was like, like that guy just like whole career just like bullshit where like he has like just the opportunity to be in front of like good bands. It's like, hey, just like maybe put a little more guitar. Like he's like not really doing that much, but somehow he's like turned himself into this empire of like being like this guy. I don't know anything
about Rick Rubin, man, but what I've noticed is a lot of people, I don't know what Rick Rubin's life is, right? But I notice a lot of times these people that are real nonchalant and like, oh, I don't know, I did this and I did that. Somehow they got a lot of daddy's money at the beginning. Oh, for sure. And that kind of connected the dots. Like, oh, I didn't really know. I kind of stumbled upon, but like, I don't know. I bought a studio.
Yeah.
And then I bought a state of the art studio where nobody had one in the middle of New York.
Shit ton of cocaine.
And then they're fucking like, oh yeah, I don't know. I stumbled upon it, but I fucking invested all the money that my mommy and daddy gave me, and then I brought these people in, and before you know it, they had nowhere else to. So it's like,
I don't know, just like, you know, got lucky, man.
Yeah, a lot of people have these fucking like, you know, these aw shucks stories that are real convenient.
Yeah,
and somebody ponied up like,
oh, well, shit, man. I think that's the fucking.
We are out of time.
That's the fucking show, dude.
That's the show.
That's the show, dude.
We've only scratched the surface.
Time flies. We have to have it back.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was a boring guest for you guys.
No, this is
on the contrary, my friend, because now we have a bonus bringing you back once the film circuit goes through. And see what. Well, let's promote your film, man.
And if it doesn't,
there's nowhere to promote it. But if you're one of the film festivals I submitted to,
say yes.
Allow Taco Killer.
Taco Killer.
Taco Killer. It's like
it's a great.
It's a serial killer story.
Great.
Except the bad guy, he doesn't. It's kill people.
Plot twist.
Yeah, it's a lot of twist, dude. Yeah, the bad guy, he doesn't kill people. He crushes taco shells to ruin Taco Tuesday.
You have Instagram or any other like social media stuff people can follow you?
Alex Ansoleaga, exactly.
Or if you want to see it, like or see where he's like, you know, the film festivals are at. Hit him up on
hit me up on Instagram.
Instagram.
Probably follow me on social media. Definitely do that. I'm not going to follow you back. If you message me, I may or may not respond. So I think that's That'll get people to sign up for sure.
Yeah.
And you're gonna have
Stay
to
true to yourself.
You're gonna have to
won't be
spell
told.
your last name for them for your handle.
No, sound it out. Alex Ansoleaga. Exactly how it sounds.
Except it's with an A, not an O. Right.
An.
The last, yeah.
Well,
See, that's what I'm saying.
well, you got to.
I'm stupid. I'm stupid, so I would be
No,
like,
don't say that. Don't say that.
Ansoleaga.
Ansoleaga. Alejandro Ansoleaga.
Yeah. Just hit us up and we'll connect you with
We'll
Alex.
connect you.
Yeah.
Hit up me at Tony Klein Comedian, and I'll put you with Alex and Soleaga.
Tony's going to be my neighbor soon.
Yeah,
Damn right.
buddy. And
Come
you'll
back
be
to Hollywood, baby.
And you're already my neighbor,
Yeah.
and then you'll be my neighbor
Once
as
again.
well. Yeah.
No, but Tony's going to be my neighbor.
Yeah.
Yeah, neighbor. I'm like,
We're going to
down
cut a
the
hole in the
street
wall
neighbor.
so we're actually like live in the same place again.
Yeah, dude. It's coming true.
Yeah, man. Well, thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, man. You can find me at Eric Rustler on all the Instagrams and social medias. Check out the ericandtonyshow.com. Buy a t-shirt, coffee mug, beer mug, sweatshirt, all that kind of stuff. Every Monday, I post a full episode of these podcasts. And then on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, I do YouTube Shorts. I do 60-second clips every single day of every guest that we do. So there'll be stuff every day, little clips of this whole thing. So check it out. And thanks for stopping by. We'll see you the next one. Peace.
Hell
Thank
yeah.
you.